a big shocking development that has taken place in Leicester, where the Labour Party has deselected every single one of its Hindu councillors in wake of the Hindu-Muslim attacks that have taken place, the desecration of the temples, the attacks of the Muslims, of the Islamists against the Hindus in September 2022. Why has this action been taken? Why is the Labour Party involved? Is Labour Party then pushing forward the agenda of backing the Islamists, backing Islamist terror and spreading Hinduphobia? Let's open up this discussion. Ambassador Ashok Sajjanar, my very pointed, straightforward question. If this is not the rise of Hinduphobia that is being pushed forth by a political party, the opposition, the main opposition party in the United Kingdom, then what is?
Yeah, thank you very much, Megha, for having me on your show. Couple of things. One is that the Labour Party has traditionally been opposed to India. We have seen, its former presidents of Labour Party, the chief opposition leaders, etc. They have always been, ideologically, they have been opposed to India, to India's rise, and so on and so forth. Secondly, in the recent violence also we've seen in Leicester that there have been the Islamic terrorists who have been involved and people who had raised doubts and who had raised questions about the manner in which this whole violence was dealt with by the mayor of Leicester. I think those are the people who have been targeted. And they had spoken about how action had not been taken on time and very, what needed to be done had not been done. Much stronger, stricter action was required, but that was not taken. The third point is, I think, going beyond this, as we have seen, there have been a number of reports that have come out in the US media. There is also the Prevent report, and the Home Secretary of the United Kingdom herself has come out openly saying that it is only political correctness that has stopped the British establishment from taking action against Islamic terrorists.
Okay.
And so it is high time that, the country woke up to that. And I think this message needs to, it is not only in the United Kingdom, but I think in a large number of other countries, whether it is the United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, wherever there are large number of the Indian community, whether it is, Sikhs or otherwise, there is this element of Hinduphobia, and it is basically being fueled by the Islamic terrorists, and it is being funded and supported by the ISI. So I think people need really to wake up to this reality.
Okay, all right. Pandit Satish Sharma, your view, you're joining me from Britain. What's exactly happening? And there has been a collusion of the ISI perhaps and the Pakistani politicians that are picked up by the Labour Party and put up as members of the parliament in the opposition. And if that's not, if this Leicester violence that had taken place attacking the Hindu temples, the Hindu people, and the Hinduphobia that is being spread, is there massive lobbying and funding that takes place, which is being pumped in by the ISI, perhaps being supported by the Chinese, for a targeted attack, with the political lineage also being put in to ensure pressure keeps building on?
Jai Shri Ram, Megha ji, and on Hanuman Jayanti, Jai Shri Ram to everybody who's celebrating it as well. A pleasure to be here with you. I think you've hit the nail on the head with one of your statements just there, and that is that this has been present in the Labour Party for a long time. I made a public announcement in 2013 where I said that Hindus voting for Labour is like turkeys voting for Christmas. And if you have a look on the internet, you'll see that there were so many condemnations. I was called everything from Islamophobic and all sorts of nonsense. And now, a decade later, what we're seeing is the truth of the Labour Party being revealed. The Labour Party has no desire to look after the interests of its Hindu community. Leicester is one of the largest urban areas where Hindus have invested over 4 generations of effort and community building. And yet what happened in Leicester, we saw clearly that it was of no value whatsoever to the political parties. The attacks were on Hindus, and what the Labour Party did was they actually flipped the narrative. They tried to convince everybody that the victims were the perpetrators. Where was John Ashworth, Member of Parliament, who has so much to say about Kashmir and other issues? And yet on this issue, he is Leicester Member of Parliament, he was silent. Claudia Webb, the one who was parachuted in from London into Leicester, denying Leicester's Hindus the opportunity to pick a Hindu as their own representative. Where was she? She was silent on this issue. You know, we have pointed out so many of these factors. There's Debbie Abrahams, who is a parliamentarian for the Labour Party. She received £30,000 directly from the Pakistani consulate. And she was the one who was encouraged to go to Kashmir and talk about atrocities being inflicted by the Indian Army. So the Labour Party has very clearly laid out that it has absolutely no friendship with the Indian government, certainly not the BJP, and that it has no loyalty whatsoever to the British Hindu voting public.
Okay.
This is stark and clear, and I hope Leicester's Hindu voters, and indeed the other voters of Leicester, look at the Labour Party and decide, does it really want the best interests of those people who live in Leicester? I don't think so.
Okay, Joyita, I'm going to come to you, and I'm also going to bring about a linkage to the Khalistani attacks that took place in various parts of the world, and particularly outside the Indian High Commission in London. Now, we also saw that Piers Corbyn, who is the brother of Jeremy Corbyn, who used to be the Labour Party head, he has been removed from his position since then, has also been backing the Khalistani agenda. So every single event that is anti-India, anti-Hindu is then being supported by the Labour Party. Can there be action brought forth in terms of revelations and exposes that can be done, that this illegal, unsubstantiated funding that comes from the ISI, which is a terrorist organization, is then being harboring his intentions to create Hinduphobia and allow for Islamist terrorism to exist in the on the soils of United Kingdom?
Megha, in this case, we also have to, I think, understand about the demographic kind of the voters who vote for the Labour. And from whatever, in fact, we had published a research and report from London some time back, I think 2-3 years back, saying the Indian voters are gradually, because they are more educated, they have some kind of, the income bracket is going up. As a result of what is happening is that, sorry, excuse me, they are shifting away from the Labour to the Conservatives. And the thing is, you see, can I speak a little later because my...
Okay, I'm going to give you a break. Let's get Joyita a glass of water. But Pavan Sinha, the same question to you. Islamic terrorism that is being supported, propagated openly by the Labour Party, opposition party of the United Kingdom. And there's not a finger that is being raised. There is not an eyelid that is being blinked. Can there something be done?
First of all, I want to thank you for having me here. As Shri Ashokji right in the beginning said that Labour Party has never been very cordial to India. Actually, Labour Party has left leanings also, and through Labour Party, this Islamic polarization in London, they want to destabilize Indian voting behavior, Indian voting system. They also want to influence these Kashmir issue. They also want to want to change the mandate for 24 also, which is in recent years, recent months, it's going to be there. So they are solving so many problems with just with this one action of them. But I would also like to draw your attention towards what had happened in USA 2021, when they organized a seminar, dismantling Hinduism. So this issue or this intrigue is not very new, it's very old. And it is at the same time being perpetuated in Australia, then New Zealand, and Pakistan, Bangladesh, now in Bhutan, and so many other countries, that they want to denounce us so that we would could leave this Muslim polarization its impact here on Indian politics. At the same time, we may lose our reputation in international relations. They want to brand us as a violent community, and also they want to support less than 1% of the group of Khalistani who are not favoring India through the same action. So it's a very big plan, and we need to understand that strategically also they are actually budgeting. The Islamist powerful nations, they are budgeting a new kind of asymmetric war through this action. Labour Party is one of the components of that.
Very important point raised. Joyita, I'm going to seek a response from you. Polarizing politics. And that's what the West blames India and the BJP government. When polarizing politics has been played by the United Kingdom for years before.
Megha, who started, who kind of initiated the policy of divide and rule in India? Which country initiated the policy by their two-nation theory? Whose brainchild was it? It was not just Jinnah. It was, and when we are talking about divide and rule, it all came from Britain. You see, and that is what we are witnessing in Britain also. So you see, I'm going to quote from some, in 2019, a London-based think tank called Runnymede Trust had shown that the conservative vote share among British voters of Indian origin is steadily on the rise, while Labour support among British voters of Pakistani and Bangladeshi origin has risen even further in recent times. And this was particularly ahead of what Jeremy Corbyn was. When Jeremy Corbyn was there, he was openly asking for sanctioning Mr. Modi at that time. And I mean, they had completely gone off the rails. So you see, when you are looking at them, increasingly when it comes to the voting pattern and voters from with origins in the subcontinent, the Labour is increasingly moving towards Pakistani Muslims and Bangladeshi Muslims. Now this is because also primarily, I think one of the reasons being that the demography of it, the economic heft of these communities, because when you are looking at the Indian community in Britain, what we are witnessing is that they have kind of, they are gradually, they are kind of, their economic power is increasing as it is happening in the US also. But that is not the case with the Bangladeshis and the Pakistanis who are there in Britain, because they are all into their blue collar workers.
Absolutely.
And the Indians are in the white collar jobs, they are more prosperous, they are traders, as a result of which what has been happening is that these Pakistanis and the Bangladeshis, they tend to identify with the Labour much more than they would be identifying with the Conservative Party. I mean, I would say around 2017-18, when Jeremy Corbyn was the leader, about 85 to 90% of this community, they were voting Labour. Now, when that kind of movement happens, that's a consolidation. What exactly happens in our country as well? People think that the Muslim community can be wooed and they will be, voting as a bloc. Okay, that is the same reason, it's the same logic that is working in the UK. So, because they are, number one, the Hindus are increasingly getting identified with the Conservatives. Interestingly, and think of Rishi Sunak is, after all, he is a Conservative. So, you see, all these things are coming into play. And as a result of which, what we are witnessing is that now these small things that happen on the ground, it's a reflection of a bigger malaise.
Okay, all right. Ambassador Sajjanar, a quick response from you for the second round of responses that I seek from all my panelists. What must India do? Hinduphobia on the rise, whether you see Australia, whether you see UK, Canada, America. Can action be taken? Can political clout be shown? Can diplomatic clout be shown for a quid pro quo and pressure being put on the governments of the day?
Yeah, thank you very much, Megha, for those questions. And, one comment on that, I think increasingly, particularly in the United Kingdom, we see that it is vote bank politics that is driving the Labour Party to sort of identify and align itself much more with the with the diaspora population from Pakistan than from India. And we have seen in the current case also those who have been denied tickets by the Labour Party, they are either standing as independents or they are moving over to the Conservative Party. Now, what can India do, to your question? I think India can do a great deal. India is already doing a great deal. And, in terms of pushing back against the establishments where these sort of incidents are happening. You would recall, Megha, that when these incidents had taken place outside the High Commission, Indian High Commission in London, just a few weeks ago, and then India had sent out a very strong message that this indifference of the UK authorities in safeguarding Indian establishment, Indian personnel, Indian diplomatic territory, that is unacceptable. I think that's a strong message. Our relations, we need to recognize, Megha, with all these countries are growing by leaps and bounds. We are looking at a UK-India FTA also with Canada, with Australia. We already have one. We have signed one. With the United States, our relations are at an all-time high. So I think it is a mutually advantageous situation that these countries also take very serious note and cognizance of what we are telling them, because I think the underlying, the subterranean message, Megha, can be that if our people are not, their welfare is not safeguarded, our embassy personnel, our consulates, their welfare and their security is not fully assured, then there is going to be price to pay. There are going to be consequences. And this message goes out. I think it will definitely have an impact.
Okay. Pandit Satish, then, is there any solace that Rishi Sunak is at the helm of affairs as the Prime Minister of UK? Does that help the cause of Hindus living in the country?
Well, with it being Hanuman Jayanti, I think the phrase Ram se Ram ka naam bada should spring to mind. And I think that the fact that Rishi Sunak is a Hindu by label is more powerful than anything he will do by virtue of being a Hindu. I don't think there is anything tangible that he can do either. As Prime Minister, he has to attend to the interests of this country first and foremost. And I think that's what he will do. But I'd just like to conclude very quickly on one point. Please note that the rise of hatred against Hindus is something that has been seeded for a long period of time. This hatred doesn't just manifest over a period of months. It has to be seeded, it has to be watered, it has to be nurtured, it has to be protected. And then when it begins to bear fruit, it's being harvested. And what we're seeing now is the beginning of that long-term program of seeding hatred against Hindus to be being harvested. And in our tradition, every child is born without malice, is born without hatred. And so if you want these things to literally transfer and survive over generations, you have to institutionalize them. The question we have to ask is, who has been seeding hatred of Hindus for such a long period of time? The Labour Party is one such institution. And all of the institutions which use this and leverage it for political advantage, we have to scrutinize them and hold them to account.
Okay. Pavan Sinha, a quick response from you, 30 seconds. How should India tackle this? Whether if it's Khalistani, if it's Islamist terrorists, if they are being given safe harbors in all these countries, how difficult does it become a task for India to bring down this anti-terrorist, anti-secessionist activities against India?
So far UK is concerned, because this is the time for elections there, so I don't think that the Conservative Party would jump into this matter. The second thing is, diplomatic channel is the best way to represent the sentiments, ideas and emotions of people of India. The third strategy may be media. If media is very vocal, as you have picked up the show, so media is vocal, this will be registered there. And next one is people there. People from India, there and here, should also raise their voice so that it could be noticed well throughout the world, because we are large in number and we are really very genuine people, so we will definitely be heard. So if this is done, I think we will be victorious.
Okay, quickly Ranjoita, before I wrap this conversation up, how do we safeguard our borders because of the secessionist movements, whether it is the Kashmiri separatists or the Khalistani secessionist movement that has been given impetus in all these countries, especially in United Kingdom? How do we stop it?
Megha, I've been saying this for a very long time, and that is these people can do zilch to India, zero. Okay, the Indian mainland I'm talking about. You see, they can only go after the soft targets, the High Commission, which is not protected at the particular time, the temple, the Hindu families, maybe isolated homes, and that is what we are witnessing in England, the UK, we are witnessing in Canada also in this thing. So, it is ultimately the responsibility of the countries concerned to ensure that the least that they can do is that they maintain law and order. But yes, we should be very, very mindful and watchful how the situation develops now, because there is a strong buzz that the Labour is going to sweep the next elections in the UK. So, what happens then? Because you see, here is a party which is dependent on, when it comes to voters of South Asian origin, they are dependent on Pakistanis and Bangladeshis. They have got MPs like the Tanman something Desi guy, okay, who are basically out and out Khalistani, although I don't know, in spite of being that what he was doing at Rahul Gandhi's parliament meet that he had in the UK, this Tanman Desi guy was there.
Well, you would be surprised, or perhaps not be surprised, because during the farmer protests, he had made a visit to Punjab, and it is being suspected that he was meeting these Khalistani supporters. I'm completely out of time. I thank all my panelists for joining me on the telecast, but we are going to take up this campaign. We are going to put the media pressure on the Labour Party and expose it. We've already done that today, but this remains a sustained campaign in the hope that there are going to be Labour Party forces in United Kingdom who are going to take up the cause of the Hindus and stop the Hinduphobia from further spreading. Thanks for watching.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.